This is an exercise that I actually learned at the Meadows of Wickenburg when I was in rehab back in 2014. And while I was there, I didn't go there to come off medication because we know that that is not the way to come off of psychiatric medications in a 45-day program. But while I was there, I spent a lot of time in the art room, and this is one of the exercises that we did, and I found it to be really helpful. In this exercise, we are going to be diving into some of the less comfortable emotions. You know, we all want to be happy and feel good and feel joy and all of that, but we're human, and sometimes we have other emotions that are more complicated, emotions like fear and pain and anger. And this is a way for you to think about those emotions and get them out on paper, and then also think about some coping skills that you have when you start to move into those uncomfortable emotions. So I hope this will be helpful for you. It's an intense one, but I think you're going to really enjoy it. This project starts out with you making 3 concentric circles. I used an 8-inch Fiestaware plate because it is perfect and it fits just right on a 9 by 12-inch piece of paper. Then I used an unopened roll of masking tape, and then eventually I ended up using the bottom of a cup. But you can use anything that you want. The most important thing that we're going for is that the outer circle that you create, we want that space there between the outer circle and the second circle to be the largest circle, because that's where you're going to be doing the most writing. And we are going to start by addressing the innermost circle first. This is a moment for you to really think a little bit about when you know that you are spiraling into what other people, and maybe even we ourselves, would feel is like a negative emotion that can cause us to do some kind of a unhealthy behavior. So for some people, it might lead us to, drink, or other people, it might lead us to gamble, or for some people, it might lead us to seek out sex from somebody, or get online and use some porn. There's a million different things it could be, but it could also just be something like isolating, which is like my MO. When I don't feel good, when I feel sad or scared, and I'm going to add those. So my things that make me move into that dark place are I'm going to write down fear. And by the way, I'm using my non-dominant hand here because I want there to be shakiness. And that is what I'm going for. So fear is something that brings me to that dark place where it's terrible. I mean, I just know this about myself. Like when I am a baby. When I get a cold, I'm like, nobody can be near me. I'm sick and nobody should be near me. And I immediately go into isolation. And then when I hurt my back, I'm like, nobody can be with me. I'm flawed and imperfect and have so many needs. And I definitely work on that all the time. But fear puts me into a state of isolation. So I am going to write here isolating or isolating. So I'm just writing down, but you can put down whatever the things are for you that make you feel like you're operating from old programming and not really from this new place that you want to be coming from, where we believe that God has our back and that everything's happening to us for our greater good when we're not feeling like that. I just listened to something, and what was it? It was saying that there's only two, I've heard that this isn't news flash or anything, but there's only two energies in the world. There's fear and there's love. And so if you're not operating from that place of love and open-heartedness, the opposite is fear. So what is it that pulls you into the darkness? And for me, it's isolating. It's it's this feeling of shutdown. And then I'll put the things that make me get there in a minute. Shut down. Um, it can be panic. Um, and it can be really intense emotions, also based on like when I think people who know me know that I'm really close to my father, and it doesn't take much for me to start crying when I imagine my life without my father in it. I just can really not imagine a world without my father. He's my bestie. And so things like imagining, which I'll put down in a minute, imagining or catastrophizing, or imagining future loneliness can bring me to that place. So I am adding some of these dark feelings here. And I'm not somebody who goes to the anger place very often, but when I do, it has to do with so I will put down anger. I don't go there very often, but it does have to do with like feeling like the rest of the world like a social injustice brings me to anger. I don't get sad about that. I get angry about that. And that's one of the only things that brings me to anger is social, when I recognize something as a social injustice. So those are my sort of these are my dark, this is my dark place here. Like this is the place where, I don't want to be in anger, isolation, shutdown, loneliness, fear, and panic. And so then the next circle is like what I was saying is like, what brings me to that place so that I can recognize my triggers? So some of those things for me are, um, I'm going to write down. One of them is when this is such a immature thing to say, but I'm being honest. When people, it's like a baby tantrum, I know, but when people say no, sorry, I'm admitting it. So one of the things that brings me to this center place is if, for example, I feel like I have a great idea. I want to do this. And like, don't you want to do this with me? And wouldn't that be great? And somebody else is like, yeah, no. That brings me directly into it can, not as much anymore, but I can immediately go into this, I guess I don't have good ideas and nobody likes me. And then, so when people say no, it brings me to that spot. In that same vein, I would say and I'm just making some words and some drawings as well. So I'm just going to write when love is not reciprocated, which is not totally different. I mean, a no is, it's not necessarily the same thing, but when you love somebody and they aren't in it with you, that feels so bad. So that brings me right in here. And it is a moment where I really have to rethink that relationship sometimes. Sometimes I go to the place and I go, that doesn't usually happen. Don't make a mountain out of a molehill here. Don't get all activated. It's not usually like that. But if it's something that has happened more often than not, then I really have to think about, is this relationship in alignment? So when love is not reciprocated, that brings me to this place of loneliness, fear, panic, anger, and isolation. Other things. Well, for people who know me, you know I've got a back issue right now. So I'm just going to write specifically for me, back pain. But apparently it's also not limited to my back pain. I'm going to write back pain and I'll also write like illness and injury. It is the fast track to me getting down in the dumps and spiraling. If you want me to be at my worst self, give me an injury and an illness at the same time. I don't mean to laugh, but it is true. It is true. Um, what other things? I feel like other things are things like not feeling understood or feeling misunderstood, rejection. That's the same, I guess, as when people say no. I'm going to write down unmatched energy, which is the same as when love is not reciprocated, but I'm just going to write unmatched energy because, well, I guess it's the same thing. So at this point, I don't feel like I need to say it, but unmatched energy, when you like somebody more than they like you, that feels bad. It's another one that brings me down, and it actually just happened the other day. And I've mentioned this before. I IT problems. That's very specific. But like, I consider myself a pretty tech savvy person, or at least for my age, 58 years old. And like, I have a blog and I have a smartphone and I program my website and yada yada. But when I have IT problems, or I guess I would add too many IT problems, I go right into this shutdown, loneliness, fear, avoidance, panic, anger. So for example, I one of my earbuds stopped working. And rather than go buy new, like the same kind of earbuds, I was like, oh, yay, I'm in CVS and I'll just get this JVC pair. Well, you guys, it didn't pair with my iPhone. So then I'm looking for, like power cords that I can plug in to make this thing pair. And then the cord comes and the cord's not the right cord. So now I have to return the cord, but I can't return the earbuds. And it's just like one thing spiraling into the next. And the bottom line is I still don't have like working earbuds. And so that's the kind of thing that like really upends me. And I wish it didn't, but I do get really upended by IT problems. And I don't know if anyone else is like that. And I'm sorry. And it's a little embarrassing to admit, but it is true. Um, I'm going to also add, this is probably related. So I'm just going to write when I can't, um, like solve a problem easily. So it's related. It's not just IT that when I can't solve a problem easily, because shouldn't all problems be able to be solved easily? But yeah, when something is really hard, I've had to learn to step away for a little while and then come back to it because I do get overwhelmed and I can shut down. So those are some things. Are there other things that people are thinking of that are things that pull you toward your darker emotions? What am I missing here? What are people thinking? Give me some of yours.
Invalidation.
Oh, that's good, Lisa. Thank you. Anybody else?
I would say hypocrites.
Oh, hypocrisy. Yes, please. So I'm going to write lies and hypocrisy. Yes.
Gaslighting
Oh,
happens.
totally. That's like for me also, I think of that as things that are like moral injustices or social injustices. Um, yeah, that stuff drives me to pain and chaos. I'm just going to write invalidation. You know what else is one that makes me feel some kind of way is a lack of physical touch. So I am going to add that. If you know me, I'm a toucher. I'm a snuggler. And I don't feel like it's too much, but maybe it's a lot. I did grow up in a very physical family. And a lack of touch really bums me out. I feel like, and I've said this before, Like if we all have little tanks inside of us, that tank for me gets depleted real fast. It's my, physical touch tank, and it just goes boop, 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 boop. And it's like my bad earbud, it dies in 5 minutes. And so that is a big one for me that I have to manage is touch, because I don't have a lot of that. I live alone. I don't have a boyfriend. My parents don't live nearby. I'm not even from this area originally. So I don't have my closest friends living here. So that is one I really have to manage. Other things that are coming up for people? Lay it on me.
I put car problems.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So I'm going to put that under the category of like when I can't solve a problem easily, or, for me, that's like IT problems. So some kind of technological problem. But yes, that stuff it's the same category. It's like, something is not going to plan. So I guess it's like feeling out of control, right? Which is really what all of this is. It's like, why aren't things working the way I want them to work? It's all lack of control.
I put disrespect and unkindness.
Oh, that's perfect. I'm going to write disrespect. And I like unkindness too, but I don't think I have room. But I like both. Disrespect. Thank you. Perfect. So continue to fill your space with whatever, you know what, can I put it in here too? I'm going to write cruelty in here. Cruelty. Yeah, so that filled things in for me. And you can fill in as much as you want. It can be legible, not legible. That's fine. And you can continue to add to it. It doesn't have to all be figured out at this moment. And I'm going to bring you into the next stage. So the outer part of the circle, which is our biggest chunk, because this is the part where we want to think about, but what are the things that I can do that make me, when this is starting to happen, when people are saying no, when there's lies and hypocrisy, when I'm feeling disrespected or gaslit or invalidated, when I've experienced cruelty or car problems or IT problems or illness or injury, all these things, when I'm feeling that, how do I make it so I don't go shut down into the center, but instead move out and into openness and into heart? So stay out of the fear place and instead expand. So I'm going to just name a couple of things here that work for me. And the number one thing that I think of here, and you do not have to do this the way I'm doing this, but I want my letters to stand out a little bit differently here. And I'm going to try to create little drawings in here, little cheerful drawings in this part to reflect what it is that I'm saying is the good way to go. So for me, I am putting nature. If I can get out of my head and out of my way, and if I just say, oh, for God's sake, I need to get out of whatever's happening and take a nice long walk right now, guaranteed I'm feeling better and I can solve the problem better when I come back to it. So I'm just going to make nature here. And you know me, I'm a big fan of these little flowers here. So I'm just going to draw one. And that is a shape that makes me really happy. So whatever your symbol is for nature, pop it in there and embrace it. So there's my little nature flower. Other things that make me feel good are, I'm going to approach this and do like a 12 o'clock, a 3 o'clock, a 6 o'clock, a 9 o'clock, so that things are spaced out. So in this weird writing that I just did, I'm going to do that in those sort of like quadrants, and then I'll fill in. So I'm actually going to put down massage, because that has been a huge healing modality for a girl who is light on physical touch in her real life. I have had to make sense for myself that a massage is not a luxury. It is self-care. And so getting body work helps me to not feel sad and to stay out of the middle section there. So I don't know if anyone else experiences that, but that is really a big thing for me, is getting body work. So there's massage. And I guess an image for that for me, I'm going to just make like a butterfly because I do feel so light and free after I have body work, and my body always feels so good. And if you don't do that for yourself or haven't tried it, I strongly recommend you at least gift yourself one session of body work with a practitioner in your area for the new year. Just try it. You never know. I didn't realize how powerful it was for me. And it doesn't have to be a full body massage. You can get a pedicure or something like that. All right, there's my massage. Then, of course, you all know me from here because I love to paint or draw or create. So I'm just going to narrow that down to paint. So I am using the same type of lettering here, these sort of hybrid block letters. And I'm making the word paint. And I think I will just make something that looks vaguely like a paintbrush, but it also may look vaguely like a flame or a candle. And I'm okay with it. It's fine. I know what it is. Paint. It totally looks like a match. Another thing that works for me is breath work. And I'm going to abbreviate that as SRI, which for me is somatic respiratory integration. Not everybody uses those terms, but for me, SRI has really been life altering. So I'm putting SRI. What do I need over here? You know what another one is? Call a friend. Calling a friend. For me, if I can't have physical touch, sometimes just the emotional touch is good enough. I mean, it's never the same, but calling a friend can go a long way for me to making me feel better. You know, someone who really, you have to pick the right person, of course, but calling the right person, they usually pump me up, they pump me up. FRIE. Sometimes, I was an English teacher for 20 years and I've been out of it now. And every once in a while, I'm like, am I spelling words wrong? Like, am I these days? Am I making fried? But I'm not. I did it right. Call a friend. So I'm just going with my things that I'm thinking about here. And you know what? Some of those friends can really be angels in my life. So I'm going to just make like a little drawing of a little thing that represents an angel to me. It's just a cute little image that represents a friend who can be an angel in your life. Another thing that definitely works for me is EFT tapping, emotional freedom technique. If I am not feeling great, EFT often really helps to pull me out of whatever I'm going through in the moment. It really does. Oh, I'm thinking of so many other ones too. And then another one just came right to my mind, which is my far infrared sauna. So I'm just going to write sauna here. Sauna. I'm just going to write it in the same font. So the first ones that I did, the ones that are at like 12, 3, 6, and 9, I did those in sort of those block letters. And now I'm going through and creating sort of another fake font or whatever you want to call it. And so I'm doing all of those in the same treatment. So I have SRI, EFT, sauna, So I'm doing that, but you can think about what works for you when you are feeling triggered, disrespected, all those things. What works for you? What are the things that pull you out of your head and into your body and stop a cycle from starting? At this point in the project, I spent a long time thinking about and generating other coping skills that I have that help me when I'm starting to move into the more negative emotions. And so I'm going to encourage you to, yes, you can look at what I'm writing, but also take a couple minutes here to really think about what works for you, because this is very specific to me, and what works for me may not work for you or even resonate with you. So I encourage you to stop the video now and really do some of your own writing and figure out what works for you and helps you to prevent yourself from spiraling. And I do want to take a moment to be really clear, because what I'm not trying to suggest here is that you avoid uncomfortable emotions, or that you suppress them, or that you ignore them, or you just try to make them go away. But sometimes it can be really helpful when you're noticing yourself ruminating on something or obsessing about something to the first step is to recognize that you're doing it, and then if you can use one of these skills that is in your outer circle, it sometimes helps you to pull yourself out of an emotional response that you don't really need to have. You know, you can just sort of distract yourself and change your entire mood. Instead of allowing yourself to sink into the negative feelings, you can correct yourself and right the ship. And for the next part of this project, which is in fact optional, you can decide if you would like to create some visual representation of yourself outside of the circle. And it doesn't have to be completely literal, but I'm just going to draw a head here, and it's going to be a girl, and she's going to have curly hair like mine, and she's going to have my eye color. And it's just the idea of connecting more to the project and to the words. And so you can do that, or you don't have to. And I want my character here to be holding onto my recovery. So in other words, I'm holding onto my recovery. I'm responsible for myself. I'm radically responsible for remembering this about myself. I'm the one who can pull myself out of this stuff. It doesn't mean I can't ask people for help, but ultimately I have to go to the tools that are in my tool belt. And guess what, guys? Once you've created all the content in your circles, then it just becomes an exercise in filling it in however you like. So as you can see, I'm using colored pencils here to fill in my spaces, and you can do whatever you want. Enjoy the process. So as you can see, I started with this very dark, murky center that turns into sort of brown. All that stuff is at my center there. But then as I fill in that outer circle of expansiveness and higher energy, that is where I'm going to use a lot of orange and yellow, because I want that to symbolize something lighter and brighter, and those new coping skills that always help me out. And so that is what I am doing now in the outside circle. But you can use whatever colors resonate most for you. Trust your own process. Right about here is when I kind of realized that, I wasn't loving the green that I put all over her face. So it's very easy to fix things when you've done something in watercolor and just in general, there's rarely any art emergencies. So what I actually go to do to handle this is I went to go and get some regular titanium white and a brush, and I ended up just painting over all that green in her face, because what was I thinking? And you will see that it just pushes back all that color, and then once it dries, I can just continue to paint right over it. So I apologize if I led you into the darkness there, but you can fix it, and it's a great lesson. It's a great thing to remind yourself that there's nothing that we can do that can't be undone, and there is nothing so serious when it comes to an art journey. This piece didn't even exist 2 hours ago, so it's important to remind yourself not to put too much pressure on yourself and that this is just for you and it does not have to be perfect.
This feels so hopeful to me and encouraging, and I just love it.
This is always an exercise I do at the end of each year, and I have a decade's worth of these little exploratory pieces of artwork. And I just want to encourage you to hold on to this and consider doing another piece next year where you can sort of see if anything has changed or what new skills and new you have acquired over the next year. I hope you enjoyed this project. I hope you learned something about yourself, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday season filled with good health and peace of mind.